I'm going to call to the stage some of the amazing artists whose work you will find out here in the main foyer and whose work you'll find in 1619 Project, the visual edition. These artists' works are what made the 1619 Project complete. We had journalistic and historical essays, we had poetry and prose, but the missing facet was to hear from artists. As we know, as Nina Simone told us, right, it is the job of the artist to reflect the times. And these artists have done that so powerfully. So the theme of this evening, freedom and resistance, is actually the prompts that we gave the artists to produce original works based on one of those themes. So the first talk that we're going to have right now are artists who produce works to the theme of resistance. So I'd like to call to the stage Bryant Lamont, Alexandria Couch, Johnny Nelson, Charlie Palmer, Fahamu Paku, Vida Shell, and myself. Okay. Every person who we reached out to are people whose artistry I personally deeply respect, that the 1619 Project deeply respects, and who are already doing work that spoke to the themes of the project, and that's why we selected you. Your work is powerful. Several of you, I've collected your work. Some of you, I'm hoping to collect your work at a deep discount. So I want to just start. I'm going to ask each of you. You all produce works in the theme of resistance. So if each of you, and I'll start on the end here with you, Bryant. When you heard the theme, just give us your reaction and then take us through your process of creating your piece.
The process is. I'm closer. All right. I am overwhelmed with my ancestors and elders. I'm overwhelmed with my ancestors and elders. When I got the call to make the piece, it was, I ain't gonna say easy, but I jumped right to it. My process as a painter is somewhat different because I do abstract figurative work. So they asked me to do a sketch and let them know what I was gonna do, which I don't do that. When I do it, it's done. And I worked within the framework of what they asked me to do. So I did my piece very, very fast, or completed it quickly, and it resonated with me and told the story of the history, or part of the history of black people over a period of time. If y'all not familiar, if you see the piece in the foyer, it's one of the biggest up there. And somebody was saying, and I talked to one of my friends here, that was like, why are these characters on the piece? And the reason why the characters on the piece, if y'all saw the piece, is that I believe that white supremacy is make-believe. So I have make-believe characters on the piece. But those make-believe characters that's on the piece resonate with us because we all know it exists. We familiar with it. And we in our culture have been familiar with white supremacy since 1619 to the present day. So it's showing the lineage over a period of time about white supremacy and how it's a made up construct with make-believe. So I got out and did the piece. I hope y'all like it.
Okay, I always make you do this. Tell everybody what is the name of the piece.
The title of my piece is called Every Fucking Day. So from 1619 to present, we want a little relief. Give us a break. We tired of fighting all the time. We ain't got no therapy over this course and the system in which America have been put on us. As we say, let us alone. Let us be. We want a little bit of relief, and we need it now. We needed it then, but we damn sure need it now. All right?
Hi. For my work and kind of hearing and responding to the prompt of resistance, I was thinking a lot about how we see a lot of images of Black pain and suffering, but we don't hear about a lot of historical records of their love and their relationships that they have with each other. So when I was working, I was thinking about the idea of love and how love is a form of resistance, but also that to love someone is terrifying. I think when you love someone, you're also reckoning with the possibility of the world without them in it. And that should make us also want to resist the forces of violence, state violence, genocide, racism that are at play in our everyday lives, and both systemically, physically. And so in thinking about that, I also produce my sketch. I often work with the figure, but I don't often work with two figures at once. And so I just wanted to show two people in an embrace and also reckon with the fact that, you know, two things can be true at once. There's a lot of pain and suffering involved in, I think, everyday Black life as a Black person, both here in the United States and worldwide. But also, there's a lot of joy, and there's a lot to cherish and hold dear in that as well.
Peace and blessings. My name is Johnny Nelson. The piece that I created for this show was a gold seat at the table. So with this piece, I wanted to both honor Shirley Chisholm, right? So we had the quote, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair." But then also at the same time, the Alabama brawl had just came about, right? So I felt like, you know, like those are both two different but well-needed forms of resistance.
That's right.
And yeah, so I feel like I accomplished the goal, and I hope that you guys receive it also. Blessings.
Okay, to the point. I just want to say, you know, when we were thinking about artists, I wanted to acknowledge the different forms of artistry. Am I going in and out, or y'all can hear me? Okay. I wanted to acknowledge the different forms of artistry that we don't often think of when we think of fine art. And jewelry making, of course, we brought that with us all the way from the continent, our love of gold, our love of adornment. And Johnny Nelson, I think, is one of the best in the game. He does all of these.
Thank you.
He does hip hop jewelry, but do you want to talk a little about your practice before we move on?
Well, pardon me. So my jewelry that I make, it honors the legacy and culture of us Black people. You know, so through my work, I do a lot of sculpture work. So I'm known for taking the Mount Rushmore and including Black figures in it. You know, so I'm very known for that, and just basically just pushing our culture forward, and by keeping the legacy going. You know, I just want to continue to inspire and basically just be that voice and the inspiration for the youth and people coming up, and knowing that we can be in the space of jewelry making and sculpture, and basically like the places where they don't think that we belong, especially in the jewelry industry, because that's a place that we haven't been grandfathered in. And so I feel like by me being in there, I've been helping to aid that, you know? So, Ashe.
Is the mic on? First of all, I just want to say thank you, Nicole, for inviting me to be a part of the project, the book, as well as this exhibit. And I want to say to all the artists here that I'm absolutely honored to be here with you all. You're all an inspiration, so it's a pleasure. My piece is Overseer Officer. And this piece, actually, I created during the pandemic. And so it had been sitting around, and when I had gotten the call, I realized why I had created it. You know, because sometimes I'm listening to my ancestors and just being obedient to their direction. And so I'll create something, and this is a little bit of a departure from something I normally would do, and then have it sit in the studio until the right time and the right place. And also, like, fortunately, a lot of my subject matter has to do with the celebration and the struggle of being black in America. And so you'll see that theme continuously. But in this case, it's the whole idea, and I shared it with somebody earlier today. It's like what we've experienced as African Americans in this country is that the police are there to police us or to oversee us and then to protect everyone else. And so that was the statement that I wanted to make in the piece, is this whole idea of we've never been protected. But through all of that, we still succeed. And that's why I was thinking today, it's like, black excellence is excellence above excellence. And I truly believe that, because we've overcome so many obstacles and continue to, and we still succeed. You know, so I think it's important to me that right now I'm really reaching out to our youth, because I don't think they know who they are. And I know I might sound like the old man preaching to the kids, but I'm like, y'all have no idea how amazing you are. Don't give up. You know, so that's part of my message. So if you notice that there are children at the very top of the piece, and that is this thing where they're almost showing an innocence. And I hope to some degree they can still maintain that through the struggle. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to Nicole and to the panel. So for the last few years, I've been working in my practice, guided by a number of questions, but the one that's probably the most salient is a question, who are we when white people ain't looking? And so really trying to work through finding a way through my practice as an artist, but through my practice in everyday being to kind of dissociate myself away from definitions of myself as a black person that have been authored through the lens of white supremacy. And a part of that project, I came across this quote from James Baldwin. It says that any real change implies the breakup of the world as one has always known it, the end of all that has given one comfort, the end of safety. And I thought that to be a really profound statement and sentiment, because I, again, was thinking about this idea of who I am as a black person, and understanding that while I wholly, with my full heart, embrace my blackness, I also know that the ways in which I've come to understand myself has been through a language that I did not write, right? That I did not author. And so in order for me to discover and uncover who I truly am, I have to go through this act of removing all of these layers of knowledge, of understanding, of knowing that have been imposed on me even long before I was here, right? And so this series manifests as this, that manifests as this series called The End of Safety, where you see the main figure, the character in the work is actively pulling at these layers that represent or symbolize, the various layers of knowing and comfort. But there's a tension in it in that you don't know if he's trying to remove the layers or if he's trying to hold on to them. But the idea ultimately is, in conversation with that James Baldwin quote that I mentioned, that in order for us to discover who we can be, to discover our fullness, we have to do the active and dirty and uncomfortable and treacherous work of removing all of these layers of comfort and knowing and safety.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. A little closer. All right. So I'm Vitus Shell. I'm from Monroe. And the work that I always make comes from that place of being from the South, being a kid that grew up with hip-hop, a kid that also grew up with the elements of the Jim Crow and Black Code, and how that kind of, those things kind of affect us today. So the piece that I made here is called Triple Threat. It's a reference to Juvenile's 400 degrees, my bad. And the triple threat is in the image, the figure is dealing with three things versus the norm So she's dealing with racism, sexism, and ageism. So it's 3 times what the norm will be. So the 1200 Degrees reference that whole 400 Degrees album, and the work is created on plexiglass to kind of reference an album cover, CD cover. And for me, I'm always working from a place of decentering whiteness and centering myself, because so many times we grow up always referencing how we move through spaces by those things. So for me, that's the work that the visual work is my internal work that I'm constantly doing for myself. So, and I'm always, if the work is about collaging, and I'm also always collaging community, people, ideas. So the things that I do in my visual art is also things I do as community work. So that's what I do.
Thank you. It's always so profound to me to hear artists describe their work and their thought process in making the work. So we don't have a lot of time. I have one question, and however many of you want to answer it can answer it. But I'm wondering, you know, these works were created several years ago. They were created at the end of the first Trump term. We didn't expect probably we would be living through another Trump term, and one that's actually, you know, quite different in ways we shouldn't be surprised about than the first. Is there any way that you think differently about the art that you created, considering the moment that we're living in now? Has meaning changed? Has what we should take from it changed?
Yeah, I was thinking about that a lot on the journey here, and I think initially when I had kind of wrote in my blurb, I was talking a lot about love alone as being sort of or the idea of love, or love existing being what the form that resistance is. And given everything that's going on, I think recently I've been reflecting on that a lot and just thinking that it's not enough. You know, loving each other isn't enough. I think this is a year, if anything, if any other year hasn't been, for action. And that love can push us forward, but without action, without us actually getting out into our communities and doing something and helping people, you know, that love isn't enough. I hear a lot of people be like, oh, I'm radicalized by my love for, you know, other people in my life. And, you know, you can love all day long, but if you don't go out and do something, you know, the work doesn't get done. So I don't know if it's a takeaway from the piece, but I'm thinking a lot more discursively about how we can use community to drive us forward, not just to stay in the spaces where we are, not even just to protect the spaces that we're in, but that love should be extended to not just us, but all people, and all people have a right to that safety. Yeah.
Sorry. There are 2 points that I want to make. The first is that I'm actually kind of excited by this political climate, in the sense of the shattering of the fallacy of the dream, right? Of this idea that we were something that we're not. I think now more than ever, we're forced to confront the reality of the schizophrenic nature of this country and its politics and its racism, right? And so, in that way, again, I'm excited because I think it becomes the spark, the catalyst that inspires the next leaders to actually work towards change that we want to see, as opposed to being duped or sleepily led into perpetuating the lie, right? The other thing is that I have this quote I always say: in the future, historians will tell what happened, artists tell how it felt. And for me, to be an artist in this time is also very invigorating for me because I recognize that not only is it a great blessing to be able to have this talent, but it's also a great blessing to be able to give that talent back to the world in a way that could also spark and inspire change. And so I'm excited to just be in conversation with community, with artists like this, with folks like yourself who are doing this work, and to know that the work that I'm doing is meaningful, you know, for the next generation.
We can probably do one more. Brian.
Yeah. With my piece, and I may mention that I think white supremacy is make-believe, right? But what happened now to me is that what happened now to me, or what I believe now, is like us, the citizens, y'all living in make-believe. Because with today's technology, and we could see with our own eyes something that's detrimental to humanity, and we cannot agree on what that is. We got it on video. I have a person that can lie on Monday and say, I didn't do nothing, I ain't do nothing, I ain't do nothing. And then Friday, change their mind, and we know it, we see it. We living in make-believe, and we can't agree that they lying? We have a war on the truth, and it's on video. Back in the day, the black people used to tell you what was wrong with them and what was happening. Oh, yeah, we don't believe, you don't believe. It's on video. And y'all cannot, we cannot decipher what is true and what is not. Make believe. Wake up!
Okay. All right, let's give the artists a round of applause, please. Thank you.